So school was an interest for us. I didn't really like school. Be brutally honest, I was a bit of the class clown. I didn't like it at all. It just wasn't interested, mate. I was more interested in having a laugh with my mates. Football was a big part of school, and sports. And then as I started to grow up into my teenage years, girls started to become a part of that. And then going back to my dad, he moved into an area where obviously I needed a school, and the only school I could get into was in Ramsgate, was the school called the Ramsgate School, and that was statistically the worst school in England. And people say, oh yeah, I went to a shit school, but this was the shittest school. And the environment in that school was completely different to anything that I'd experienced. Like, it was. I was always surrounded by poverty. It was just off a council estate, if you know Ramsgate. It was just off like a council estate in Newington, which was quite notorious for being quite rough. So that's kind of where my secondary school experience come from. And it was a completely different vibe. So it was all about being streetwise. The older kids who you'd look up to, always like the hardest kids in school. You'd be surrounded like by poverty, crime, violence, and it was just a bit of a daunting experience going in there.
What was it like growing up in that environment?
It was tough. I'd say it's quite tough. Like, it's taught me how to be streetwise, which was probably the main thing from it. But you wouldn't go there to be academic. Like, it was that kind of talk wasn't a thing. I think statistically, if I remember rightly, it was like 5% of the year left with GCSEs A to C or above, which was like, that's why it was the worst in England. It's been rebranded now to an academy, because that's what they do with schools that underperform. They rebrand them, so I think it's called the Marlow Academy now. So no, not dissing anyone who goes there, but talking about my year, that's what it was all about. And I think that's kind of what it was like. It was a bit daunting, a bit scary, to the point where we'd have I remember quite vividly, one day it was just like it was called like National Fight Day. And basically what you do is there'd just be a mob of us, above about 50 of us. We'd go around the school, different years. And if you had a problem with someone, you'd just have a fight there and then. It was insane. Yeah, it was crazy. And you just have a tear up. And that was just like one of the memories that stands out, where I just think, fucking hell, this school is something else.
What about your relationship with your family as well? Like, you mentioned your dad a lot.
Yeah, so solid. It's solid. Like, again, that was something that kind of, I think if I would have stayed in that environment, again, my friends at that time, I had a good friend of mine, I won't mention his name, but he's quite notorious. He's he's abroad. He's wanted by the police, and that was like my best friend. We went on holiday together. I went on another holiday with a guy, not who went to that school, but went to another school. He's done some time for some serious crimes. But yeah, that was kind of the people that I was in circles with at that time. And I think my dad saw that I was going to these like council estates when he was dropping me off to like gatherings and parties, house parties and that. And that's why he was like, no, you're coming to work with me part-time on weekends, and I'm going to build up your school, your skill set. That's what... Like, now that you've asked it, it's on reflection, it's kind of like, my dad kind of saw it, and he was like, no, you're coming with me, son, and I'm going to get you out of that.
What about the relationship with your mum?
Mum, she's cool, yeah, she's very social. That's kind of where I get a lot of my like sass from, I'd say. Like, she's quite, she's a proper people person. Well, my dad's just like head down, graft, and he'll just let the results do the talking. Well, mum's quite a social person, gets everyone involved in the room, and really like outgoing extrovert, where my dad's kind of a bit of an introvert. Yeah, I'd say.
Would you class yourself as an introvert?
I'd say I'm more extrovert. Like, I like that. Like I said, growing up, I like to be not centre of attention, but I like to be a presence. You know, I like to get to know people in the room and try to inspire people and just try to be a bit of a joyous person, where someone could leave the room and say, oh, I like that guy. He gave me some good value or good vibe, or made me feel positive about myself. That's the kind of person I want to be or project, you know.
And I think you do, mate. I think it's very important to realise that even whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, what background you come from, it really doesn't matter, that you can always project value in different ways, in different forms. Just touching on what you said there about your sort of upbringing and your sort of experiences, you've come from sort of a council estate, rough background. Did you ever feel the feeling to prove yourself to your dad?
A little bit. So looking back, I would say my dad always had like nice houses and stuff like that, and so I probably think I wanted to make him proud more than anything. Not prove myself, just to make him proud, and hopefully I've done that. Like, he's never said it, like he's not like that way inclined, but I just thought the skill set that he gave me, and then the opportunity that I saw when I went to uni, I thought, okay, this is it. Like, my dad's given me these skills. I saw an opportunity for high-end accommodation, and I went all in. And then I got my dad involved on my first project, and that's where he really taught me, and really jumped in, helping me on how to renovate it. And that was kind of a bonding thing. That was how we bonded. I think, looking back on it, which was quite nice. But yeah, in terms of did I have to prove myself? I wouldn't say I have to prove myself. I think I'd be disappointed. I'd be hurt if he thought I was a disappointment in any way. Anyone in my family. But I think, us as a unit, I'm quite fortunate to still have my mum and dad together. I know a lot of families split up. I've got a younger sister. She's really close to my mum and my dad. So yeah, I think the reason why I was able to separate myself out of that school environment was because of the moral compass that I learned from mum and dad. I think that's where it really starts. And then it does, and then you can kind of go astray once you meet friends. But as long as you've got a good family unit, your moral compass is kind of.
I'm glad you said that as well, because there's that's quite a powerful saying what you just said. Because whether you've come from a council background or not, a lot of the people that I speak to have come from, or successful people that have come from I say successful, it's wrong, people that have had success in property or business, if they've come from a council estate background or housing association, wherever that may be, they have often felt they've had to prove themselves just to get out of that environment and then become a success. But they've not had the family unit. So myself included in that. So my family unit wasn't together, but my drive, my ambition was to never go back. So that was often the case for me. It wasn't to prove to someone else, it was to prove to myself. And I know there's other people been sat in that chair there. I've gone, do you know what, I'm doing it because I'm not going back to that environment. I don't want to go back to that environment. I'm going to prove to me and the family. And again, I know you've got your own family now, that you don't want them to be brought up in that environment.
No, far from it. Because like I said, with those friends, you saw some nasty things, sad things, and I wouldn't want that with Sienna. I want her to be a million miles away from that. And I know people say, oh, that's what made you who you are today, and I get that. But I think if I'm in a position to offer her a route to bypass that, then so be it. I think if she's got my my characteristics in terms of business, which I'm hopefully going to drill into Sienna, then she's going to go on to achieve a lot. And I'm not going to hand anything to her. She's got to earn it with me. I've said that to Danielle, and she's with that as well. But yeah, I think if anything, I want to put her into private education, and just trying to push her just to see how far she can go. And obviously help with the wealth that I've built, because ultimately I'm not going to take it to the grave, am I? So I might as well.
I agree, mate. I agree. So tell me what happened after school.
So after school, I basically had a plumbing apprentice lined up. So my dad sorted that out, and I got surprisingly some good grades, which shocked me, to be honest. So I went to sixth form, and then that's when I thought, do you know what? I'm gonna not do the traditional like family go to do the building thing. I'm gonna go to uni and see what doors that opens. And it's funny how, because I've ended up in property anyway, but in a different route. So yeah, basically I went to sixth form, done well there, really knuckled down, really thought, right, I've got to make this, because it was a step up, and I surrounded myself with a different environment. I've gone from the worst school in England, surrounded by like people that didn't want to learn. They just wanted to, probably smoke weed, play football, play games, like deal drugs. That was kind of the mentality. To people that, this is kind of like we're driven. We're looking 5 years, 10 years. This is where we want to go. So it's a completely different mind shift.